What is water on demand?
Thank you, David. Well, it all started when we built a infrastructure in this country in the first part of the 20th century that was totally centralized. Send everything to one place. That's like those big concrete rivers in L.A. that the whole purpose, remember Greece? The whole purpose was to get all the water to the ocean as fast as possible. Nowadays we go, wait a minute, that's fresh water, right? So that sort of 20th century concept breaks easily. It's kind of like having mainframes, right? It's convenient for some people, but most of the users get screwed. Here's what's been going on. 90% of all water use is by industry and agriculture. And of course, that was 8 October, Tuesday, as the hurricane was on its way, Hurricane Milton. They loved that I had the background, everything quite peaceful. The next day was the full office hours with Mike Diamond joining David Meltzler, and it was a bit longer. And as you can see in the background, and you'll see it on the clip, the palm trees are swaying. We are entering the storm and doing a podcast at the same time. Here we go.
This is a great football name, by the way, Riggs Eckleberry. He's waiting for the storm. He's right in the eye of the storm. It looks a little bit cloudy there, but he's very clear on what he does at OriginClear, right out of clear water, which may not be so clear water, but he provides clear water in a new industry that is growing, and I love the business model, so I had to have him on office hours as well. Water on demand, Mike Diamond. I'm going to let you, Riggs, welcome to office hour. Explain, what is water on demand?
Thank you, David. Well, it all started when we built a infrastructure in this country in the first part of the 20th century that was totally centralized. Send everything to one place. That's like those big concrete rivers in L.A. that the whole purpose, remember Greece? The whole purpose was to get all the water to the ocean as fast as possible. Nowadays we go, wait a minute, that's fresh water, right? So that sort of 20th century concept breaks easily. It's kind of like having mainframes, right? It's convenient for some people, but most of the users get screwed. Here's what's been going on. 90% of all water use is by industry and agriculture. And 10% is us. And I remember we were living in California and they're like, take short showers, but we're only 10%. So what's the point, right? So you want to take care of the 90%. Specifically, get them off the grid. Don't let them send their dirty water to the city. And here's where the company started realizing this is right, because now they're being sued by water they sent to the city. The city didn't treat it right. Ended up in people's drinking water as forever chemicals. And now there's class action suits against those people. So they're like, you know what? If we're going to be blamed anyway, we're going to take care of our own water. So the new trend, which started about 10 years ago, was decentralized water, right? Do your own water treatment. And that's growing. It's growing fast. There's a unicorn already in the space for the really, really high-end players like pharma. We came along, we said, yeah, what about decentralized water for the rest of us? Breweries, housing developments, car dealerships, RV campgrounds, trailer parks. Those are, there's a million of them, there's a huge amount of them, and also they have the least resources to treat it. PepsiCo has resources to treat water, but these guys don't. And that led to the second phase, which is, you know what? You get your own water treatment, and you get to. My wife is going on about the storm. Anyway, I don't blame her. We're praying for you. We're actually pretty lighthearted about it because, hey, we got to be fatalistic. But anyway, so now we come to them and go, you know what? Don't pay for the machine. It's kind of like that solar panel they put on your roof and you don't have to pay for it. Same concept. And it's become so popular. People are like, yeah, where do I sign? And we can take that paper, 20 or 30-year contract with a reputable company, and borrow against it on Wall Street to get the equipment in there. We retain the equipment. It's water as a service. The multiples are unbelievable. And we're now bringing it to the entire water industry at the rest of us level, not the giant, multi-billion-dollar companies, but the rest of us.
Wow. So, Riggs, how do you re-educate people when it comes to this? Because people are so not naive, but they just go, it's just water. Well, what's the difference? I'll drink any water. But it's not. You can get really sick, the chemicals. So how do you re-educate people, even though you've got this great product? So people aren't like, I don't want that. You don't need to give me that. So, because, some people get so defensive when you try to help them. They think either they should have known it first or they know better. So how do you also re-educate? Because it's so groundbreaking what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of complacency. We had one of our own funders go, what's the issue, Riggs? I open the faucet, the water comes out. I flush the toilet, water goes away. What's the problem? Like, okay, fine. Nevertheless, they did fund us, so that's good news. But the fact is that there is this complacency, but these little Flint, Michigan problems are starting to pop up more and more, and that's leading to people being concerned. Mike, what country are you from?
Well, I was born in Australia, where actually the water is actually quite good.
Well, I was about to say that. Yeah. I always ask because I don't want to assume. But Melbourne has an amazing desalination plant. They spend a ton of money on it. And they really are good stewards of the water. They know that they are essentially except for the coast, they're in a deserted subcontinent, continent actually. And so what they understand is that you got to take care of your water. For example, Australians, most of them these days have the gray water systems. They invested in those. We don't like gray water. What's that all about? So we're way behind now. In certain places, like Las Vegas, David, I was telling you about Las Vegas yesterday. They got their act together. Why? Because there's no more water. They only got what they got, and they've been very, very good with it. How do we get this to the rest of the country? Well, as you know, everything is an inverted triangle, right? And at the very bottom tip is the people who absolutely have to have it. They have no choice. They're being fined every day. They're going to be shut down, and they got to do it. And those are the people that is our current market. And now we're expanding into the wider pyramid. The people at the very bottom, we had one lady that, in fact, she was in the news, Neville Home Park in PA. She had to give away half of the equity in her trailer park to pay for the water treatment. And without that, she would have been shut down by the state. That is not okay. So these people are desperate. Today, we would tell her, no. Don't give away half your trailer park. Just make it an operating expense. Pay us instead of the city. And that's what we are offering today, and it's widening the whole pyramid because, look, if you have a brewery, it's not in your budget to treat the water. Nobody ever thought of that in the business plan. I'm going to treat the water. No, it goes to the city. I don't have to worry about it. Now they do. We got breweries in East Bay had their water being the local utility was saying, no, we can't take you. And they were trucking it to another county. Brewery wastewater was the easiest thing in the world to treat. So there's a lot of this going on all over the country. And so we're picking those up. And that's our base business. That's what we've been building our regular business. But I think there's tremendous power in people not having, businesses not having to pay capital for their water systems. And the other good part is they don't have to have a water expert on site. It's fully managed. And, it's a managed service, which is so modern. This is like Uber for water, right?
It's great.
It's WAS, water as a service, and it will be very clear very soon for many people that the origin of water is the origin of the source of water, meaning I'm on my way to Dubai, so I can't wait to ask questions over there. What they're doing to source and resource the resource of water. Check out OriginClear if you have a corporation that you feel as if is under strain for the cost and the distribution and use of water. Get it on demand. Check out OriginClear, originclear.com. Riggs, thank you so much. Stay dry, no pun intended. I can see the wind starting to pick up behind you. Stay safe.
Yeah.
After the storm, we'll have you back on. Thanks for everything you do.
I can't wait because I want to tell you how people can invest in this wonderful instrument. We'll talk more.
Well, go ahead. Where can they learn more about investing?
It's very simple. If you go to OriginClear, see, the beauty of this model, which I was mentioning yesterday, is that regular investors can go in and get the equivalent of an oil and gas type royalty, generational royalty out of it. We've brought, water like an oil well is what we call it. And so if people go to originclear.com, they can directly invest and get royalties from these systems that are put out, and they have a lien right to enforce their royalties. This is a beautiful way for everyday investors, because you and I know it's hard for people who have a couple shekels to actually know what to spend it on, right? Like, okay, S&P, I don't know, whatever, Bitcoin, who knows? This is early stage that nobody else has been getting access to. We're bringing it to regular investors.
And it's secured, as you mentioned. You get a lien on a necessity. I always say I focus in on the four things that we need to live. One of them being air, one of them being water, one being food, and one being sleep. If you don't have those in your life, you're going to be dead. So it always seemed to be a good investment. And now anybody can, because of the changings of our laws and accredited investors. So for the public out there, I highly suggest looking into assets that are secured and that are necessary to live. And OriginClear seems to have the mechanism in the medium to make those types of investments. So do your due diligence, check out OriginClear. I find it fascinating and valuable, with great leadership like Riggs risking his life to be on episode 650 of Office Hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, both of you. David, Mike, it's been a great pleasure. That was a super podcast. I got to really get into the business model and why it matters, and really why it is a matter of equity, you might say, of fairness, that these businesses, even if they're small, get to have access and don't have to give up half the business in order to get water treatment, which was the case that I mentioned on the air there. Thank you. There was a question from the audience. How did we do in the hurricane? Thank you for asking. Mostly pretty well. We live in a high rise that was recently built. Usually the ground garage, which is meant to take all the surge, usually it gets full of water. Of course, it wasn't this time. But what we did get was such a strong north wind that literally at the peak, we felt the cabin pressure in the condo rise like it was in an airplane. It was wild. Small leaks that we managed to sop up with towels. So that was fine. My brother Steven, who's our video guy, super video guy, well, he ended up paddling down his street in his surfboard, and his house is okay. Unfortunately, his car got drowned. But since it wasn't an EV, I think we can save it. And aside from that, the rest of the group here in Clearwater came out okay. I believe Tom, being near Charlotte, were you affected by Helene, Tom?
We were fortunate in Charlotte. I would say the mountain areas to the west of us, unfortunately, took a major hit, and they're still, dealing with the aftermath of that one. So
amen to that. This is why the American Civil Engineer Society has forecast that unmet budgets for water will reach $435 billion a year just 5 years from now. Why? Because you have these increasing catastrophic events happening, and seawater seepage and all kinds of things happening on top of an existing deficit. And they're not printing money for the water. So what do? Well, when you've got a horse with too many people sitting on it, you take people off the horse. And that's what we're doing here. We're removing the burden from the water infrastructure to better serve the people. Okay, now we have a fabulous supporter, Felicia Froe, Dr. Froe. This is back in August, and she has had us on before. Just extremely interested, and she asked us for an update, and so we gave it. Let's take a look.
I want to just remind everybody of what the problem is. Why are you even involved with water?
Well, water is taken for granted in the United States. We open the faucet, the water pours. We flush the toilet, the water goes away. And we don't give them much further thought. But when we first got into the water industry, we learned an amazing fact, which is that our national infrastructure is falling apart. And when it comes to infrastructure, we are a third world country, and it's starting to show up all over the country. And people just aren't noticing. If it's not happening to them, oh, Flint, yeah, that was terrible, but that's not me. And Compton, that was terrible, that's not me. But the fact is that the American Society of Civil Engineers has predicted that just 5 years from now, we will be in the red each year by $435 billion unmet expenses each year, almost $500 billion and nobody has figured out how to meet it.
That's just in water infrastructure?
Exactly. The problem is federal funding has collapsed for water. The utilities are trying to charge people more, but that's only creating defaults. So literally people are being reduced to bottled water when they need the water the most. And now these do unfunded mandates. You've heard about forever chemicals, right? Forever chemicals are very important. And the EPA said we got to stop them. And they provided for all 150,000 water systems in America, they provided a grand total of $5 billion to deal with it. In other words, nothing. But now it's much more because of the effects of climate change. So we have a lot more sewer overflows, saltwater intrusion, a number of things happening structurally that we're not built for. And so there's really no better answer. If you have too many people riding a horse, the answer is not to get a bigger horse. The answer is to get people off the horse. 90% of all water demand is by industry and agriculture. So they are the ones who are really creating the problem. And we have a solution, which is let them do their own. And what they're actually delighted to do it, because there's many reasons why, they're delighted to do it. And this takes them off the grid. And now the central municipal system can operate to serve the people.
I was looking at some stats on your website, and water rates have increased 80% from 2010 to 2019, at 4.5 times or 4.25 times faster than inflation. I don't think people think about this. We pay for the water coming into our house. We pay for the water that we drink, which people don't want to drink the water coming out of the faucet. 105 million Americans actually have unsafe water. And we don't even think about how water and the chemicals in water get absorbed into our skin from our showers, from our baths. We don't think about that. We just think about what we put in our mouths. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. You guys have come up with a solution. Talk about that.
Solution is decentralization. In other words, right now, industry and agriculture are dumping their effluent into the city system. Why? Because they can, right? Now we say, okay, but here's the problem. They're now being sued for those effluents because the cities aren't doing a good job of cleaning them up. And so the originating industry still gets in trouble. So they still get blamed. So might as well, if you're going to get blamed, might as well do it yourself, right? And so we take them off the grid. It gives them 3 benefits. The first one is that they get lower water rates, right? Water rate inflation, water and sewage rate inflation is rising faster than college tuition or health costs, right? It's by far the fastest growing. It's not on any charts, but that's where it is. So
I want you to say that again, please.
Water rate and sewage rate inflation is occurring faster than college tuition or healthcare costs.
Okay.
Which is already the worst.
Yes.
But nobody mentions this.
We got to have water. There's no way around it.
So this is our solution. When industry does their own, they get their own water system. Now it's subject to regular inflation of parts and services, right? It's not ridiculous. And secondly, they can, if you're treating your own water, you can reuse your own water, which reduces your incoming costs and increases availability of fresh water. And the third one is that you're not involved in city politics. As long as you meet the permit requirements, you're like, I'm good. You guys do your thing. We meet the permit requirements. Those 3 reasons, probably the third one, actually, I'm being told, are paramount for a lot of companies because they don't want to be part of that mess that's going on. And so since 2016, when I got excited about this, we have been pursuing this angle, and we have built 2 companies, one of which it handles the very, very large customers, power plants and so forth, one big client at a time kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And the other is these modular assembly line systems that drop into smaller sites. And between them, they're doing a great job. They're growing fast. There's a lot of demand. But that is not the end of what we've done, but it is the first major, major milestone is decentralization.
I think I read somewhere where water companies are actually refusing to take the water from some of these companies because of how dirty it is and they can't clean it, or what are they rejecting?
Or there's too much. There was a brewery in the East Bay of San Francisco that literally the city was saying, no, you got too much effluent, and they were being forced to truck it to another county, right? So they just went and got their own system. They went off the grid.
If it's my house, when I flush the toilet, turn on the shower, the water goes down the drain and goes back into the sewage system, which goes back to the city for treatment. And then the whole thing, it does all the stuff it's supposed to do. Is that right?
Correct. So we're not saying replace the incoming water. Let it continue to come from the city. They do a fine job of that. But now once we have it, we want to return, we want to treat the water, and either we sprinkle, we use it for irrigation, or we return it to the city, treated, or we recycle, then we do all those things. And these are all beneficial outcomes. And in fact, what we've calculated is that if right now, America only recycles less than 1% of its water. If industry and agriculture recycled 15% of their water, we believe that freshwater supplies would double in America.
We're talking industry and agriculture. We're not talking mom and pop in their house on Main Street.
And what's the priority? The priority is the big users. And they're the ones that make the big difference. And they're also the source of all the worst toxins that are creating all the bad water in America. So we solve a number of issues at one shot by having them do it themselves. And that's what's so exciting about this. And it's creating a whole new industry, because it's like when AT&T broke up and it created all the Ma Bells and so forth, but it also created the internet, MCI. It's a totally different game. So what happens is when markets are broken up or decentralized, they explode in value, right? Take mainframes. Mainframes were a particular market, and I'm old enough to remember having to book time on the mainframe to get my time on it, right?
Okay.
It was very efficient for the mainframe, very inefficient for the user. Then what happened was PC. So we flipped it around, and now it's very inefficient for the PC, which just sits there most of the day doing nothing, waiting for you. But it's very efficient for me, the user, because when I need it, I got it.
Yeah.
And it's also a vastly larger market than mainframes alone. The water, we have the central municipal utilities. They're like, we'll take care of everything. We'll do it all. We're all good. And so all the water companies are servicing the central utilities, but now it's breaking up into small systems all over the place. Now it's the rise of the local water company that is increasingly doing smaller systems, downscale systems, of which there are many, many more, right? Mm-hmm. If I have one giant central system or 100 smaller systems, the 100 smaller systems cost more than the one giant system just because of the efficiencies of scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's more responsive. So it's a bigger market. There's more activity. And you might argue there's more compliance because these industries are being held to their own standards. Not only that, it's less vulnerable to cyber attacks because, again, it's been distributed. It's not these giant central systems. We focus more on the everyday user, the brewery, the trailer park, RV campgrounds, garden variety users, housing developments that are all over the place. And so our job is to make it box stock simple. Here's our pod. It's got everything. We bring it out on a semi. We drop it onto a pad, plug it in just like you plug in your RV, and you're up and running. That is a revolution in water. Until recently, all you could do was just suffer the consequences, find the $500,000 somewhere, and just do it. And we have a case where we helped a company, a trailer park, and this actually was in the news, the Neville Home Park, where the owner, she was faced with the trailer park being shut down because of violations. So she ended up, in order to get our system, she had to give away half of the equity in the mobile home park. But she was safe. She had 50% of something as opposed to 100% of nothing, right?
Right,
okay.
Right.
Now, since then, we've come up with the next thing, which is, ma'am, you don't have to worry about that. Just sign here and you get your system. It's our machine. It's a long-term contract. It's a lot like these solar deals. It's a long-term contract, and you just pay a monthly fee that's based on consumption, and it's on your operating expenses, and that's the end of that. So we call that water on demand. And the real question is, because anything that's monthly recurring revenue is far more profitable than a single sale. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We've calculated, for example, that a 20-year contract of our system would return the original net profit from the original sale plus 19 times that sale over those 20 years. Okay. So the original plus 19 times. So that's just initial. It may reduce a little bit in the end, but it's multiples. Okay. Yeah. So why wouldn't everyone do it? Right? Well, I like to say there's a wonderful thing called the anti-gravity chair. We have the chair. Where's the anti-gravity?
Yeah.
In other words, I'm a water company and I want to help this poor mobile home park, and I want to give them a system and a 20-year contract. Where do I find the capital to pay for that? If they don't pay for it, who's going to pay? And as a result, this new space, which is called water as a service, is booming. It's happening, but it's all big players. It's private equity and big water. Now, regular water companies don't get to play because they don't have capital, but we figured out a solution, which is that we set it up so ordinary investors like you could invest and have a piece of those water systems, a lot like investing in an oil well, right? You get a royalty on the oil well's production. So you have a basket of these properties and it's operated for these profits. And from that, you get profits and then the royalty is shared with the investors. Plus they get a wonderful deal with shares and this, that. It's a very nice deal because it's so early. Okay. But the bottom line is that we found a way, and we're the only people who've done this. We found a way for us, the ordinary water company, to fund these things from ordinary investors. And that is our superpower. Well, we have a lot of people here. I also got some input from my friend Paul, who asked that we have more videos and photos of installations. This month, we are featuring Progressive Water, and you'll get a video. I will give you some news very shortly. And here it is. The borough of Big Beaver, Pennsylvania. Well, we made an installation there for a city, a township really in Pennsylvania. And they had been having a real problem. You know, pump stations are the connectors in any sewage transportation system. So the minute you have to go up or down, you have to have a pump station. Well, generally up, right, to pump it up. That's the work. And these are the joints in the system, and they're very vulnerable. And so we delivered a large-scale wastewater upgrade system. And sure enough, you can see here, these things are pretty big. And of course, we have our signature heavy-duty polyurethane or polypropylene envelope. Look at the guy in red at the bottom. That's the size of this. So it's a very, very successful installation. They had a problem because they ran out of time and they just had to get it done. So we jumped in and we did it much, much faster than expected. Lots of hurrahs about how we did it. And the engineer for the borough was like super happy. You can find out more at this super complicated link, evm.modularwater.com/mod. All right. So that is what that's all about. We will have more modular water videos and photos next month. There's actually another installation that we made that AJ covered personally. So that'll be fun. Meanwhile, let's talk about the Sherman Texas ribbon cutting. And sure enough, there's a video. It starts out with a news clip and it goes from there. Here we go.
Live from 12 Studios, this is News 12 AM.
Even more jobs are on the way to the Silicon Prairie. A big manufacturer has just moved north from McKinney.
News 12's Austin Hedgecock tells us why.
Chip and semiconductor plants dot the land along Highway 75, but their impact extends far beyond the factory walls.
The semiconductor manufacturers here in the Sherman area and across the globe take regular drinking water and produce high-quality, ultra-pure water.
When making chips, manufacturers need water, but not just any water. It needs to be ultra-pure, free of even microscopic debris.
A reverse osmosis system, the membrane that's used filters out dissolved solids like calcium, magnesium.
And if the water isn't pure enough,
they can lose a whole batch, which is very, very expensive for them.
Enter Progressive Water Treatment. They make reverse osmosis filter systems that help companies both purify and save water. The systems filter H2O that's already been used, making it ultra pure.
The water can be recycled and reused, and the contaminant can be removed.
They also make filters that clean more than just chips.
These are truck wash filtration systems. Now, the way they work is basically you have a pumping system and a filtration system together to remove contamination.
And now, PWT is in Sherman.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you very much. We really, really are happy to be here in Sherman. It is great. It's just a wonderful community and fantastic town to be doing this business. So we are very excited to be here. The staff here that we have been doing it a very long time, and they're very excellent at their work. We service a lot of different industries like semiconductor industries or, car wash industries and others. And we work a lot in power plants and anywhere there's power generation because in those situations, we're doing a lot of the industrial, processed water that has to be cleaned up. All right.
We've actually been needing to do this for a while. We needed the manufacturing space. We'll probably add on some office space a little down the road. The location's great. We wanted to still be close enough to DFW, the airport. We have a lot of visitors in and out.
In this 20,000 square foot warehouse we have, we're able to build these machines from ground up. Every step of the way we do it in-house. We can build larger systems in the shop. We can build more at one time than we ever could before. So our potential has increased beyond our dreams.
Progressive water treatment wants to grow. So in growth, we need the space to grow. And this gives us the right footprint to now begin the new phase of our development and our life as a business. We've been in Texas for 45 years as a father-son business, and we're in McKinney, Texas for the last 25 years, about 30 miles south. But now we're up here in Sherman for the next phase of growth. And the next phase of growth is a bit about, our corporate development. We're growing as a company. We have a lot of opportunities ahead of us to merge with some other companies and grow a little bit bigger. The demand for American-made products and Texas-made products is growing exponentially. And we're in a tech corridor in North Dallas where that type of tech industry, especially for water treatment, is growing. So we're here right now offering what we do great in a market that really needs what we do. OriginClear Corporation is our parent business, and that's been around for about 20 years, run by CEO Riggs Eckelberry. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the corporation. As an umbrella company, what we do is we identify technology companies and technologies that we want to develop in the water treatment industry. And we either build them internally and or we acquire companies like that so that we grow as an umbrella group that has the water technology capability to grow a corporation. Forever Chemicals is a big topic right now in the water industry, otherwise known as PFAS, often PFAS, things of that nature. Now what's happened there is these chemicals are out there in the water and they're suspended in the water stream. So in the past, when this first came up, everybody was like horrified about, these forever chemicals that are out there. And there weren't a lot of solutions that were readily available to handle it. But today in 2024, now we have real solutions for it.
And the systems we build, reverse osmosis primarily, is able to remove that PFAS from our drinking water.
What we're going to be contributing is jobs. We're going to be hiring more people right here. And we have jobs for engineers, jobs for welders, jobs for mechanical inclined folks. We have wonderful jobs that are in a great industry that's got longevity and has a lot of technical capability, and we're going to be doing it right here in Sherman. We're real proud of the work we do. We really like doing this kind of work, and every industry really needs this.
Great story. Great work by Tom in representing. And I was supposed to go, but of course I was stopped by the hurricane. Tom, on short notice, jumped in and did it. So, Tom, over to you. How was it like? Tell us about the whole event, how it felt, how you felt about everything.
Sure. Appreciate that very much. Yeah, no, I was very proud of our team. And it was really enjoyable to, be with everybody for the grand opening. The people in Sherman, Texas are incredibly thoughtful and welcoming as a community and as a city. We're very happy to be there in North Dallas. And the feedback was wonderful. I mean, we had plenty of town leaders and other company representatives, coming up, asking us a lot of questions about who we are and what we do. We had a lot of recognition for, clearly being an industrial manufacturer and service provider in the area, which has a lot of use for our capability. And then there was actually, guests, there were investors who attended. There were other partners of ours who attended. There were suppliers who attended. And I think everybody has really enjoyed the moment. So, it was a great one. It was really cool.
Yeah. In fact, Sean Shoemake from Plastic Welding Fabrication, who's we have an LOI with him for acquisition. He was there, right?
Yeah, he's awesome. That is a smart man who's done a lot in his industry for a very long time. Probably the top of his game at what he knows how to do.
Yes, he's a leader in the space. And I hear that he came away with a good I think he even likes you, Tom.
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah. I guess I'm likable.
He liked you and Mark very, very much. He was very impressed with the quality. I have to say that looking at the indoors there, I mean, you guys just moved, the whole team just moved to Sherman, but it looks good in there. It's nice setup.
Yeah.
And, and for something that doesn't have AC, you guys are surviving pretty good.
Well, there's air, there's heat, and we have the office environment, but that, as you look around the space, we're just tuning it right now. Like we got in there quickly, and now we're going to start creating certain pockets. Like there's the section to the left, which will be a lot more inventory management and shelving and materials. And then there's a area towards the back for setting up lines for production, and then the area to the right, with the welding and so forth. So, we're creating zones where we can create safety environments, plus a channel where we can move equipment in and out. And then we can also have, extra parts being able to be stacked in there. So it's a really fantastic facility.
Yes. And Sherman area, of course, is the home of Texas Instruments. And there's the whole chip industry is blossoming, which is an AI thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. They call it the Silicon Prairie. Yeah. That's what we got going on down in Texas. So it's a real thing. This is a big story. This is America via the CHIPS Act saying we want to, bring American semiconductor manufacturing into the United States. So there's this big effort in Texas, with Texas also backing up the Texas CHIP Act to make Dallas and North Dallas, and then also in Austin, these chip fab locations. So major companies like Texas Instruments is currently on the ground in Sherman, putting in a $30 billion facility. I mean, it's just a monster. It's one of the biggest investments in Texas ever in the semiconductor manufacturing space. And it's a phenomenal location. Global Wafers is also in Sherman. You're also seeing other companies, coming in like Samsung and some of the others coming into the Texas region. And as they grow microchip fabrication, that leads to the chips that go into AI, which is the big revolution that you've spoken about before. And we're right there because all of them require very high purified water in the process of doing the chip manufacturing. And, we're doing that equipment. As a matter of fact, in the video, you saw the equipment, which was one of our reverse osmosis machines. Wow. That is actually in service at a chip fabricator. And it happened to be on the floor during the time of our event, which is really cool. And that particular piece of equipment processed about 300 to 350 gallons per minute, which is, it's about 500,000 gallons of water, per day. So that's the easy way to think about it. And so at any normal chip fabricator, they would have the capacity to probably use about 1 billion gallons of water a year. So they might have about 4 or 5 of those giant machines that we make operating in one chip fab to be able to provide enough water for a normal line of chip fabrication. So that gives you a scaling, on that.
Wow. We're right there. So right now we're purifying the water. Eventually we'll be doing other things to help the chip fabs because they have a tremendous amount of water usage, both for direct cooling of the processors as well as ultra pure water for the manufacturing, as was discussed in the story. Very well done to Mark Stevens, Mike Jenkins, you yourself, Tom, and the entire team. Such a good job.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. We're real proud to be there. It's a really good place for us. I feel very positive about that location, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to have a growth opportunity there.
Wow, well, that is fantastic. We're going to have the freewheeling discussion now, and
oh boy,
we get to freewheel. So we started already. Ken is not with us tonight; he's traveling, but he will be with us next month, of course. So there's a lot, as I was mentioned at the beginning of the show. There's a lot happening. It's so hard not being able to talk about it, but our child, Water on Demand, is progressing beautifully. extremely exciting. There's an adventure every single day, but we are well positioned and it's moving fast. So to come back to hearing from Ken, you can always talk to him, schedule a call, and he will bring you up to speed in a way that we just can't do on the air. AJ, you've been, the technical director here. You did a fine job.
Pulling all the strings.
How's it going on the marketing front?
Well, on the marketing front, it's going really, really well. Actually, we've been making a lot of headway. As you guys notice, especially with things like this, right? We're trying to continue trying to elevate everything that we do. Always some kinks to work out whenever you're transitioning to new systems, but we've made some serious headway. We've got a couple new websites that are going to come in hopefully by the end of this month. We're still on track for that. I think you saw in the video there, Progressive Water just debuted a new logo there on a new sign out in the building. Right. That was kind of up to the wire on there. But it's there now, and that's all done. Modular Water's going through a similar kind of redesign to kind of give them their own individuality and kind of update their look as well. So we got a lot of stuff going on. In general, one of the more exciting things that we had happen, I think, was just the response that we got in Sherman. I'll keep it local to the Sherman. The response we got, like you said, Tom, was great. The amount of people that showed up, the amount of people from kind of the greater network that wanted to show up. Like you said, some investors showed up. That's always a great thing to be able to connect with the community and also connect with our investors to be able to go on site and see things. It was Paul earlier, you want to see installations, you want to see stuff we're doing. Well, it's moving to a facility like this that enables us to do so much more than what we're doing now. And the fact that we're actually able to get some support from the city. I think you mentioned it last time, Tom, but the city helped finance the move, correct?
The state of Texas through the Department of Transportation helped us move from McKinney to Sherman, because part of our move requirement, why we had to leave McKinney, was because they were expanding the highway in that location. So we fell under the relocation assistance program. And so we used that money to assist moving from McKinney to Sherman. And that's our choice to move to Sherman, that was what we found.
Helped a lot because we were already outgrowing the facilities. So it was kind of like, oh, so sorry, we have to move. I guess you'll have to help us.
No, 100%.
Well, it worked out well. It was an issue of it allowed us to stay a little bit longer at McKinney without having to dislocate, too soon. And the timing of it matched nicely for ourselves as well as the landlord at the time. It was a good situation.
No, that's awesome. We did get another comment just saying thank you from James. James, thank you. Appreciate you for being here. But one thing that you guys touched on earlier about the semiconductors, I don't think people really understand how big of a deal that is in a number of different industries, especially American industries. A couple of years ago, I was in the market for a truck, and anyone that was also in the market for a truck over the past couple of years will know that it was really, really hard to get a complete truck. In fact, some of the manufacturers, I think Chevy and Ford, were both selling trucks that didn't have some systems working because they didn't have the chips to make them work. So they literally sold incomplete vehicles, or they made the decision to just hold on to a ton of inventory because they were waiting on chips. And then they basically, if you bought one of those trucks, you had to take it back later when they had chips to go get it installed and to get your systems working. And, obviously they weren't, I guess, crucial systems, but at the same time, it's like you're literally selling an incomplete product because they couldn't deal with the inventory and those things. That's just one industry. And it's just one.
Correct.
It's insane just how much those things and the supply chain issues play into some of our potential woes moving forward. So, it's such an important thing that we have that capability here in America for us to be able to maintain independence and integrity in this technology age, right?
Yeah, chips and microchips is a huge piece. We're a technologically advanced society, and around the world, everybody is, whether it's your smartphone or your laptop or, some other device that you take for granted, whether it's your television with a chipset in it or otherwise. There's chips and technology in almost everything we're touching nowadays. And for us to advance as a society or go to space, like, Elon Musk wants us to, or if you want to take your country to the next level of GDP, you're going to do it on tech and you're going to do it with chips, and if you don't got them, you're not playing. So now we're in this wonderful, interesting moment in time where China, and Europe and the United States are all like vying for how to get microchips, right? And unfortunately, in the United States, we've kind of fallen behind a bit in our ability to domestically produce fundamental microchips that are part of the massive compute cycle chips, especially for things like, AI or data centers and things of that nature. And so this is a $1 trillion move by the United States to bring domestic microchip production back into the United States. Currently, we produce almost 0% of the world's chips in this category. Most of it's produced in Asia via Taiwan, and then some in Europe and so forth. So this move will try to bring back about 20% of the world's total supply of chips in this category back into the United States domestic production capacity. That is a gigantic change for the United States. And so the scale of this is unprecedented. Actually, when you really think about it, it's a massive piece of finance and growth.
Well, and you mentioned that, how much water is that one facility or the one filter machine running a day just for that one factory?
That was 500,000 gallons just on the one machine that was in our floor during the day. And a factory might produce 1 billion gallons, actually. It's a lot. So
it's a lot of water.
Well, it's very important. Think about it. If you're producing a wafer, right, and that thing is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever it is, and you have an imperfection on it, it's ruined. And when you do that in scale, you just ruined many, many, many thousands of units, right? Yeah. So you need to purify that water and make sure it's perfectly clean. And then you also have the process that they're going through that you have to constantly wash them down as they go through the line to do the layering effects.
Not only do you have to get the
intensive
quality, but also has to be highly reliable, right? These machines can't break down because the whole assembly line will come to a grinding halt. And I think that's where PWT was selected, especially because it has this reputation for being highly reliable in execution.
Yeah, the high quality is the key for sure. And then you'll have a lot of replacement and support to that chain as well, which we also want to be participating in because there's a lot of servicing there. You're going to have to go back and swap filters out and, tune machines and produce other services that go along with it.
Yeah.
And it's really one that we want to participate in.
Well, and it's again, having the solid reputation that PWT does. And I think, this was an eye-opener for me, and I'll talk about this probably more next month. But when I went out to Wallace Run to look at the pump station installation, I was talking with the foreman out there, and he's telling me horror stories about just how poor service is across the board in the industry. They said he had an LCD panel go out on a piece of equipment, and it took a year for someone to come out and just take pictures of it. So the bar is not super high for you to be a massive player in the space that has a lot of respect. But the fact that PWT takes such time and care and quality to make sure that that's part of the reputation, not just because you guys are accountable for the maintenance, but because you guys also do the service. You maintain the parts, you maintain the dealer relationships, you maintain those maintenance cycles as part of your daily course of business. And you guys have made sure that that's a part of your supply chain and part of your offering, and not just like, well, we build equipment, right? Like somebody else has to fix it, but we just build it. No, you guys do the total package because that is an important piece of it. It's not, it is a revenue driver, but it also is making sure that you're accountable to the quality of your equipment, which you guys are, and it's great. So it's a massive.
Well, that's a part of it, but it's also an opportunity to us that we're barely scratching the surface of what's available to us. There's literally work just sitting out there for us to go pick up, if you want to think about it differently. And it's almost like, with our current capacity and our skill, we have the ability to work there. And then part of the reason why we're doing everything we're doing, why we're going to NASDAQ, why are we growing, why do we want to build a business that can scale, is because there is so much work already. And as these industries continue to grow, and they grow fast, because these are fast growing industries, the scale at which you can grow and grow into them is rapid also. But we would have to grow because, that's going to require more manpower and more machines and more skills to come to bear into these markets. But the market's right there for us. And I think that's kind of why I look at it going, wow, if you want to make a ton of money, in our industry, in the water technology industry, you peer yourself against these incredible industries that are partners, like the semiconductor industry, like the data center industry, like the city, pump station business. You go after these areas that are hurting and or have big needs, and they're massive needs. It's not like we're making incremental changes of like, oh, we're going to get a 5 or 10% gain. These are things that can grow, 4x, 5x, 10x kind of level, scalable industries. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I love it. Well, Tom, that is so cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate you going there. Appreciate your leadership at Progressive Water. And as you say, there's so much business to be picked up. And a big goal for our getting on the NASDAQ, of course, is to dramatically improve the working capital situation for both Progressive Water, Modular Water, and the acquisitions. So exciting times ahead. Thank you very much, Tom. Again, to bring back that Ken Berenger is available to discuss what's going on, which is super exciting that we really can't get into on the air. So Devin is reaching out to investors. If he hasn't reached out to you already, go ahead and reach out yourself, and he will be happy to assist you. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. We don't like to go over an hour. So thank you all for being here. We had a record number of watchers, and it's only going to grow because the news, oh boy, November is going to be so good. Can't wait. This is our time. Thank you for your support to our investors, and also to everyone who supports us just by being boosters. Do join my X feed, Rigs Ec, also the OCLN OriginClear one, and the Water on Demand one. The Modular Water. Modular Water is doing some great briefings. I just want to mention that Michael Gallagher is doing a great job doing marketing for Modular Water. Kevin Pruitt is doing a great job for OriginClear and Water on Demand content. Tessa Maurer is writing amazing material. And I don't want to forget Josh Will working on the social media side. AJ, you've got quite a team there.
Yeah, they're a fantastic bunch of peeps, and I am very excited and very fortunate to have them as part of the team, because big things are always happening. For sure.
Well, everyone, thanks again. Make sure that you do pencil. I think we'll probably get Dan early the next time, because he'll be talking about the Wallace Run setup in PA. Now, this is interesting because in November, really the third week is going to be the 14th. Yep. Because the first is a Friday, but it counts as the first week, I guess you could say. So we'll be having the 14th of November. Go ahead and make sure that you come on down, and let's have Dan tell us what's what.
I like that. I like it a lot. And I mean, we've got the holiday at the end of the month, so it's nice to get it out of the way a little early.
Yes, 14th is going to be it. Thank you all for coming. It's been exciting. It's only getting more exciting. With your support, we are the up-and-coming hotshots in the water industry. Thank you very much. Peace out.
Night, everybody.